Nice to see everyone, even those that are not visible.
So did everyone's items arrive all right? Is everything, they made it? Okay, good. And those of you in New York have like major, like huge tops on all of the radishes. So you can kind of take it off. You can take them off, but I wanted to send them for shock value.
Someone in New York, show me what they look like, because I got no tops.
Here you go.
Oh, whoa.
Like,
those are so cool.
Okay, all right. So I think we could get started. We're very excited to introduce everyone to Plant People's new line of health supplements, which is actually their first departure from CBD and the CBD market. And when we were thinking of having an event, we all realized, just like you, that we've kind of been on Zoom ad nauseum the past 6 months. So we wanted it to be informative, but really we wanted it to be useful. And Gabe has a long background as a chef and has incredible culinary expertise. So we thought, what better than, or what more useful than creating a healthy meal together. So we teamed up with Farm to People to provide the beautiful ingredients that you should have in front of you. So with that, I'll pass it over to Gabe.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Thank you everyone so much for taking a moment to cook together. And you know, the intention of this hour is to be able to take a break, to engage our senses, to learn something new, and to learn something functional, and to have and walk away with a dish that is a gift for yourself, for your friends, for your family, for anyone that needs a little bit of nourishing. And the application of, or the reason that I chose to cook this congee, and Celia and Andy can certainly attest to how hard it was for me to choose something, is because it is a delicate dish. It is simple, it is ancient, it is nourishing, and it is easy to make and to share. And most importantly, it follows our philosophy that we are what we eat, that health is wealth, that food and the things that we consume matter, and that we should equip ourselves with the tools and the toolkit to be able to live in good health. And that means certain meals like this at times. It means having products in the toolkit if you need them. But I'm really excited to be able to just spend some time and hopefully see faces. So feel free to go on video if you'd like, makes it more fun. And you know, to cook something together. So this is a immune boosting mushroom astragalus congee with some pickled radishes and a whole lot of love. So first things first is, if you have the box, we got to get the rice on. I made a request to rinse and then freeze the rice overnight. And what that allows is the rice to cook in like 20 minutes instead of about an hour and a half, which is how long you'd usually cook congee. So the first thing that we're gonna do, like, let's get cooking, because that's why we're here, right, is over high heat to start, let's get our rice going. So I chose vegetable broth for everyone. I wanted mushroom broth, but we're gonna make mushroom broth. So it's gonna be the entire 4 quarts of the mushroom, or of the vegetable broth, into the pot. We're also going to add our rice 3/4 of a cup. Now, if you didn't freeze it, that's okay. But at the end, when we actually plate this dish, the consistency is going to be a bit more like risotto than it will be a congee. Just isn't going to break down as much. So 3/4 of a cup of rice. I'm actually going to add another 2 cups of water because we're just going to let this thing kind of rip, and especially with the timeline that we have cooking together. And then most importantly, I'm actually going to add and request that everyone open up 4 capsules of the immune power into this. So this is really the cross functionality of supplements and food, right? These are 5 USDA organic medicinal mushrooms with astragalus and vitamin C. So this, what you received in your box, is astragalus. And it has a really unique flavor. So we're going to throw it into the broth. And then we're going to open up these 4 capsules. There's maitake, there's shiitake, there's turkey tail, there is chaga and reishi, vitamin C, and astragalus. And so if we didn't have mushroom broth before, now we have mushroom broth. And I cooked this morning, actually, again, because I wanted to make sure it's perfect for everyone. And this actually added such a unique flavor. So you can take the product in a capsule. You can also add it to food. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is just add a little bit of soy sauce. This way that we add a little salinity into the broth as it's cooking. And it will just sort of make its way into the grain of rice. So I recommend about a tablespoon. And towards the end, we will also season and make sure that it's tasting really nice. So for those of you who are on camera, I will just sort of check in to see how you're doing. And if you have any questions, feel free to like jump in and ask, because
we have a quick question.
Yeah, can you get back over everything except the veggie broth and the rice?
Sure. So veggie broth and rice. You can throw 4 capsules of the immune power in there. One of those branches of astragalus, it looks like this. It's probably the thing that you've never seen before. And astragalus
open the capsules and then empty them in.
Yeah, or even you can try throwing the whole thing in, it'll dissolve eventually. It's not big.
And then we're throwing the twig in just as is, not
as is.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of the most revered traditional Chinese herbs for building qi, for building energy, for building vitality, and it has a ton of immune building characteristics as well. So literally everything that is in the capsule, we're in these products, particularly immune power, we're incorporating into the dish. So
and you said also two cups of water as well?
Yeah, an additional 2 cups.
Okay.
And then the flipping of veggie broth, or half, or how much?
Yeah,
Okay.
so in total, it's going to be 6 cups of liquid to 3/4 cup of rice. And, you know, it kind of speaks to what consistency we want this to be. It's a porridge, right? And every culture has its porridge, but we're going to make this one super sexy and functional. Because, you know, when I think of porridge, I usually think of like, you know, kind of bland. But this is going to be really flavorful. The beautiful thing is that it's delicate. So it's wonderful for our immune system. It's wonderful for our digestive system. And it's a great way of nourishing and being able to, you know, build energy, vitality, and get things moving. Because all of these products, it's like life is about movement for us, right? It's about breathing in and breathing out. It's about consuming and, you know, and excreting. And like that is the cycle. And when that's blocked, we don't feel so hot. So we want to make sure that we can nourish and keep it all going. So I'm basically just gonna let this kind of rip. It's just gonna go. I'm actually in Cassie's kitchen, so I don't know where all the things are. And Cassie's here. You say hi, Cass. Cassie's our head of marketing and friend. So now I think what we should do is actually is everyone ready to go to the next step? Yes, okay. So these are purple daikon radishes. I have washed mine, and these are really large. So Cass is actually on, going to be on a second camera so that you guys can take a look at what it is that we're doing. And yeah, you can totally just we're going to boil this. So you can just blast the high heat. We're going to boil the rice. It's just going to kind of like break down. And what you'll see is that very quickly, flattering angle.
Sorry.
What we'll see very quickly is that, it becomes very porridge-like, and especially if you froze it. So check this out. Here's Cass's video. If you want to
I can't.
Oh, you can't flip it, huh? All right, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna pickle the radishes. And one of the great parts of pickling is that it's a method of preservation. This is not by any stretch, a classic pickle. We're just gonna do a light salt and some acid and some sweetness of your choice to start breaking down the radish and remove a bit of the spiciness. So this is quite a large one. So I'm gonna actually do half moons, or I may even do quarters. So I'm just gonna find a flat surface. When you hold the knife, obviously make sure it's like sturdy. I actually hold the blade, which is kind of a pro tip. So you have much more control holding up here than you do down here. And then we're just gonna do some slices. And those will go into with a pinch of salt, a squeeze of our lemon, and I would say if you had vinegar, that would be a wonderful thing to add here. But about a half a lemon. Also keep in mind, like if you're only cooking for yourself, you don't need a ton of radishes. A little goes a long way. A pinch of salt. So here I'm gonna do, a nice pinch. And what that's gonna do is just help break it down a little bit. And because I like a little sweetness, and life is sweet at times, spicy at others, like radish, we're gonna have a little honey, just a touch. And then with your hands, just get in there and massage it all around. And then we'll taste it in a little bit and we can check in and make adjustments if necessary. Okay, now what we have to do is start reinforcing the broth that is beginning to come to a boil with some flavors.
Gabe, sorry to interrupt, a few questions.
Yeah.
Number one, did you talk about what temperature you should be heating up the broth?
I did, yeah. So just boil it.
Okay, and then can you repeat what goes on the radishes?
Salt and a squeeze of lemon and a little bit of sweetness of your choice. You also don't have to, but I added a little bit of honey. You could add coconut sugar, you could add regular sugar. It's just gonna help take the edge and the spiciness off of the radish.
Thank you.
Okay, so can I move on to our garlic and our ginger? Very important part. All right, I'm looking at my video people. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to mince the ginger and mince the garlic. If you have a large knob of ginger, do about 2 to 3 fingers, depending on how much you like ginger, width. Okay, and that's about how much we're gonna use, right? The best way to peel said ginger is to use the back of a knife or the back of a spoon. Or a spoon or a knife, not the back of a knife or a spoon. And you just wanna take the skin off, right? You just wanna like kind of hold it and use the edge to scrape off the skin.
You want to show it?
Yeah, sure. So Cass has our second angle, where you will basically take the edge of the spoon and slide down, and you get a clean piece of ginger. Now, once it's clean, we can actually mince it. So I'll look for an affirmative on moving on to the mince. So one of the beautiful things about something like congee is that as you're cooking it, we're imparting flavor. But then towards the end, we can add whatever we want. It's really meant to be a neutral and delicate base. And when I eat congee, it tends to be when I'm feeling a bit ill, or sorry, no one really likes that word, when I feel like I need a lot of nourishment. And so ginger is something that helps settle and helps boost, our immune and vitality. And so what I'm gonna do here is cut the ginger to a flat surface, okay? So here, you can just put it on the knife, yeah. And make slices as thin as possible. It's okay if they're not perfect. And we're gonna stack those slices up, and we're gonna run our knife through it again to make little matchsticks, or bigger matchsticks, depending on your knife skills. And then we're gonna turn those.
No.
And we're gonna make it into small little pieces by cutting against the length of the matchstick. And voila.
I never thought about mincing ginger this way.
A mince. Now, if you're feeling stressed out, don't worry. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if you really want to go quickly with it, you can also just grate it. You can take a grater or a microplane and grate that thing. So once again, here, I'll show you again. So we're gonna go lengthwise. Stack them up or lay them, flat-ish. This is a young ginger, that's why it has the pink color. Go into the matchstick. And then rotate it and cut against it. So that is our ginger, and we're gonna do something very similar with our garlic. Basically, however you want to mince garlic, you can. I actually like leaving the pieces not too small because I actually enjoy a little pop of ginger. It tastes really good. So half of this is going to go into our soup, or into our congee. Coming on over. And we're gonna do the other half for our sauteed mushrooms, which we'll do very shortly. And I'll teach you like a few of the tricks of sauteing mushrooms, because a lot of it has to do with just not touching it and kind of letting it ride. All right, how is everyone doing? Can I check in? Let's have a touch base, class. Team.
Peeling garlic.
You're peeling garlic. Nice. So you're through the ginger.
Yeah, I threw the ginger in.
You're a legend. You're faster than I am. All right. So I'm going to take 5 cloves of garlic. If they're really small, you can use 6. If you love garlic, use as much as you want. If you don't like it, use a little bit, but definitely use it. Now, look, peeling garlic, no tricks here. I mean, I just like to smash it with my knife. It helps kind of break up the skin, and then peel it. Pretty simple. Pretty simple, pretty nifty. So yeah, there we go. I love the dual angle. And Cass, if you want to help, peel the.
Oh, you want me to?
No, you don't have to. That's okay.
When the
so-
congee comes up to a boil, do we bring it down to a simmer? Or do
Yeah,
we
bring it down to a nice little simmer because we don't want it to overload. We can probably cut that one. We don't want it to boil over. And we have time. We have a little bit of time. We don't have a lot of time, but we have enough to let it simmer. So once we,
I don't know if I'm very helpful here.
oh, it's okay. This is great. Once we peel our garlic, we'll just mince that as well. And I do actually have a trick here that I like to do, which is when you smash the garlic and you run your knife through it a few times, you can actually start scraping it against the board. So, you get your garlic to some kind of rough chop level, and then you want to sprinkle a coarse salt over it. And then we make a paste. So what's going to happen is the the salt will assist in kind of grinding the garlic into smaller pieces. And we'll get a nice garlic paste that we can add in. You can also just run your knife through it like this, and it's not really any different. This to me is just a way that goes quite fast.
Do you want to do it slower for a second so people can
Sure,
see?
so slow, there's a little wrist action too. But long story short is you just want to get your garlic chopped up. And now we're going to add half of that garlic into the congee as well. And when we have our aromatics in the congee, this is when I like to take a moment. So part of cooking and part of one of my favorite parts of life, might I add, is smelling and breathing. And so we actually have a lot of like medicinal and nourishing properties coming off of this this congee. And so just kind of like take a moment and smell what's coming off of it. I'm going to close my eyes for a second. And if you're smelling what I'm smelling, it's probably something that is pretty nourishing and pretty wonderful. How's everyone doing on our preparations?
I'm still on ginger, but I'm a slow cutter.
You're still on ginger?
Yeah, but I'm slow, but I'm also, it's only 2:30 here, so I'm just prepping.
So you're good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, if you really want to go quick, you can actually, you can grate it and it'll be really nice too. Okay, so as we're letting these things simmer and before we move on to sauteing the mushrooms, let's take stock. First, we have our congee ready to go. It's just simmering. We have our beautiful radishes beginning to sort of soften and leach. We have our mushrooms ready to go and our aromatics prepped. So I would be remiss if I didn't tell you a bit about like where we are coming from in this. And so what I mentioned is this idea of health is wealth and nourishment and the connection to the natural world. And really what we're doing in this dish and also what we create in our products is looking back to look forward. It's taking inspiration and acknowledging the history that has come before us, the plants, the roots, the mushrooms, the processes, the technology, the trial and error, and acknowledging the power that it all has. And what we do is we like to look back to look forward. We like to find inspiration and access the knowledge that has come before us and apply it to what we need most today. And 5 years ago, when I started building Plant People with my friend at the time, Hudson, it was really we were really only trying to give products to our friends. Like, we had all these people asking, you know, what is this thing called CBD? What are these things called adaptogens? And growing up in Colorado, having my mother be an acupuncturist and herbalist, my father being a chiropractor and acupuncturist, and having had suffered these kind of traumatic injuries and leaning on plant-based modalities, I felt very well served to deliver that. And so we started blending these. I think I've told a few of you this, but we would take all the herb products and we put them in a paint tin, and I'd bring them to Home Depot and I'd say, hey man, can you shake the paint? I'd pack it into capsules and I'd give it to friends, and people really enjoyed it. And we actually then started approaching restaurants and cafes and saying, well, can we introduce these new things, whether it's CBD or hemp extract or herbs, to our community and our greater community through the medium of food? Can we normalize the conversation around these things by putting something on a menu? And, you know, there's an organization called Chefs Collaborative, and the motto is change menus, change lives. The ways in which we can introduce the consumption of things through popular culture, whether that is media, whether it's restaurants, whether it's cafes, truly has the ability to impact people's lives individually, but also the collective as what are we choosing to source? How are we choosing to get these kinds of materials? And that was really the beginning. And ever since, we've been going after trying to support people, right? We want to be a brand that shows up and supports people in all these different areas of their lives, whether they are, you know, whether we're learning how to cook and create a nourishing thing for yourself or for your loved ones or your families or even a stranger, or we're calling people to action to build an industry that is equitable and accessible and stands for social justice and climate justice, or we're screaming from the rooftops that, you know, we need to protect our forests, or we need to plant more trees. You know, our goal has always been to take care of ourselves, our community, and the world through the business that we do. And I'm really excited and energized to be finally creating these products that actually serve and deliver such a need, or support people in such a real way. And they don't have hemp. And we started with hemp because it was applicable. I had spine surgery, I had 3, I needed like anti-inflammatory stuff, I was stressed out because I was working all the time, right? And that was what we thought would be helpful to people. And now we're seeing an opportunity to help people in a whole different way. And this is not me coming up with them. This is us looking to practitioners and to doctors and to experts and to research and to white papers around what is actually going to be helpful. Because if it's not going to be helpful, then why are we doing it? And as we create those products, how can we splice impact into our DNA? How can we make sure that as we grow and as we, you know, try to scale, quote unquote, we're actually doing something good for people rather than detracting? And so now we have this system of products, which is, you know, our immune system. It's obviously part of the reason why we're here. And, you know, it's foundational, proactive, and preventative wellness, where we can equip ourselves with the tools needed to live in our full strength and vitality as we go into a pretty kind of intense and arguably scary time. How can we nourish ourselves with food? How can we have the tools at our disposal to make it through these seasons? So Immune Power is a product that is, you know, kind of food wellness, right? It's these mushrooms, it's all of this vitality and beta glucans and polysaccharides and nourishment through vitamin C and astragalus for our body to take every day. And our goal is that you would take, you know, the Immune Power, which we put in that thing every day, and maybe you wouldn't actually need to use any of these other products. But in the event that you sit next to someone on the plane and it's cold and you feel like, you know, you're getting a cold, or you feel a tickle in your throat, you're getting a headache, then you can nip it in the bud with cold control. It's a traditional take on yin chow, which is one of the most well-revered traditional Chinese herbal formulas that's been used for centuries. As I continue to do this, let's take the stems off the shiitake mushrooms. And in the event that you feel something going into your upper respiratory system in your head, we have sinus support, xanthium and chrysanthemum, quercia. The goal here is to take this product that will open your passageways, will soothe the inflammation, and will move it out, right? As kind of what we leaned on at the beginning, is in and out, helps move things out. And then lung guard is, of course, really pertinent for today. Aside from the fact that we have an airborne virus in our lung that is going around, and we have wildfires ravaging the West Coast, 150 million Americans don't have air that is healthy. Half of the United States does not breathe healthy air. And that's an issue. Whether we're using toxic chemicals to clean our kitchens, we're working next to a place, we are in one of the more polluted cities, the need to support our lungs and our breath and our respiratory system, not just through movement, not just through what we eat, but through taking those free radicals or pollutants or chemicals and moving them out, is really, really essential. And that's what lung guard is for. So all of these things work independently, and they also work together. And that is why we're really excited, is we really feel, and I feel like we're stepping into our being of being plant people. And I'm like just super pumped. So I'm really grateful that we got to send these things to you. And I hope that, whether it's you or people that you love, I hope that you get to use them and enjoy. And obviously we're here to answer questions and to make that a really seamless process. So shiitake mushrooms are one of the most revered culinary mushrooms, but they also are extraordinarily nutrient dense and nourishing for building immunity. Now, all mushrooms contain these incredible properties to support both the active and innate, or sort of like learned immune system. Our immune system has two different branches, and mushrooms support both. There are active compounds, and I'm just going to geek out for a second, in mushrooms called beta-glucans. And beta-glucans support our immune system. So do polysaccharides, and so do alpha-saccharides, but beta-glucans are really the things that we're looking for. And they're found in the fruiting body of the mushroom. Maitake is one of the most beautiful mushrooms, I believe, because look at this thing, and you can kind of trip out on your own maitake because you all have one, and it's hen of the woods. It's connected by this one little bunch, and then the mycelium, which you often hear about, go into the substrate, which is grain or wood or whatever. So maitake is actually known as the dancing mushroom in Japanese culture because it has this beautiful kind of playful dancing-like element to it. So we're going to take half of our maitake and we're going to break it into like little chunks, because one of the great things about maitake is the texture that we actually get from it. So we're going to break it into little edible chunks, and we're also going to turn on a saute pan. And I would recommend turning it on high or medium high. And while we're over at the stove, make sure we give our congee just a little stir so that it's not clumping or sticking to the bottom, because it's never that fun to clean burnt rice off the bottom of a pan. Keep it moving. And we're gonna cook these mushrooms. And if we had a ton of time, I would say let's cook them independently. Let's do maitakes, let's do shiitakes. But we're actually just gonna cook them together because I think that, why not? Why not? What's wrong? What's wrong? So how's everyone on the prep side? Is the congee smelling all right? Do we have any questions about what's going in here, what the end result will be?
How should we be cutting the shiitake? Like how big of the strips are we making them?
Yeah, so I just kind of made them about this big, if that helps. Like maybe a ½ inch.
I'm zooming in a bit here as well, so you can, if you.
Our dynamic camera is giving a close up.
And then are we sauteing them in olive oil or what?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is a little bit of olive oil, and we're gonna finish with a bit of the sesame oil. In 2 of these containers, I have both sesame oil and olive oil. Okay, so 38. So we have 20 minutes. Sarah, and I'm sorry, I missed your comment, but you're good with the radishes, right?
Yeah, all set.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, right on. Margot, how's it going over there? I'm just calling on random black squares, trying to get some user engagement over here. Okay, so here's the key. Are we all my mushroom people? Are we good on proceeding to cook the mushrooms, or you want me to give it a beat? Awesome.
I'm good.
All right. So
quick question: why, if we have the time, why is it better to separate out the shiitake and the maitake into separate cooking?
Well, I just like being able to usually cook items that are the same size together. So let's go for it. You know, let's first cook. Let's get the maitakes going first. Actually, okay. So maitakes are going to go into the pan. And I'll actually just bring it over and show you. So I left some space, and that's really the key to mushrooms, is you want to make sure that there's enough space in the pan. So when I put the mushrooms down, I give them space and I don't touch them, because what's happening is there's actually a race that's going on. And the race is the moisture evaporating from inside the mushroom, which are predominantly water, and the heat. And so we're trying to evaporate the water out from underneath the maitakes fast enough that it'll start to brown. And that browning is called the Maillard reaction, which is these proteins in the mushroom, not caramelization, but these proteins in the mushroom beginning to transform. And that's how we get this like really unique flavor. I'll add just a few more so notice how I haven't touched them yet, and that's pretty important because you just want to get the color. So to distract myself, I usually do a task between cooking things. So I'm going to actually slice up a bit of scallions, which we'll finish the mushrooms with. We'll do the ginger, the garlic, and the scallion, or GGS, as Chef Chang from my culinary school would say, GGS. And I'm going to start with the white tops, which are going to be better for cooking. And then once they start getting to the green, I'll actually leave those for garnish, because it's really pretty when we garnish it that way. All right, so now I have my ginger, my garlic, and my scallion ready to go into the pan at the end. All right, now that I've done my task, I'm gonna flip these mushrooms over with a spoon. Spoons are my favorite tool, so much so that I have a tattoo of a spoon. And we're just looking for a little bit of this color here, you see? So that's what we're looking for, that's the flavor. We're gonna cook it a little bit more. Sometimes with mushrooms, you have to add just a touch more oil. I never salt mushrooms because salt will pull the water out of it and it will prevent the mushrooms from browning. So we wanna salt at the end. So for now, we let them be. Everyone good? What is this? Okay. Anyone have any questions about mushrooms, hot pans, oil, ginger, garlic, scallions, or traditional Chinese medicine herbs?
Did we already put the ginger, scallion, and everything else inside the mushrooms yet, or no?
Not yet.
Okay, awesome.
Usually what I like to do when I'm cooking, and this is like a really interesting concept to sit with, is we like to cook with the same sized items, and we like to cook from big to small. So, you know, the bigger pieces are going to take longer to cook. So once we get those going, we'll add in smaller pieces. And then we'd add something like minced ginger and scallion and garlic towards the end so that it doesn't burn. And usually what I see with like people doing a stir fry is people will start with that, and you'll oftentimes get this burnt ginger and garlic, which is quite bitter, actually. All right, so we have our coffees. Now, if you're feeling ambitious, you can just move them to the side, but I'm actually gonna put them onto my cutting board, and we'll do the same thing with our shiitake mushrooms. And you're probably gonna have to add a bit of oil, because mushrooms will suck oil up very quickly. And we'll crank the heat up again and do it all over. All right, so a quick little fun fact about all of the produce that you have and the ingredients that are in our products. Whenever we're cooking, whenever we're cooking, we can only make something as good as the inputs that we have, right? Good food is good agriculture. The nutrients, the care, the microbiome of the soil, if you will, all imparts flavor to the food. And have you noticed those big carrots that you get sometimes, they just don't taste like anything? Because the soil has nothing in it. What we do is I actually go out and source regeneratively grown products, inputs. And we work with farmers who are investing in the health of the soil, the health of the plants, as well as the insects, the animals, the watersheds, the waste streams, and making sure that the systems of agriculture are benefiting all of those, are benefiting all of the parties that are involved. Also, a quick reminder, give that congee a stir. It's stir time. I'm gonna also give it a taste. Okay, it's good. Oh! Fire, sorry, I'll go on mute for a second.
You just made my dog run away.
Classic. Oh no.
Oh no. Okay. I think we're in the clear. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna put our mushrooms together. We're gonna add our ginger and our garlic and our scallion. it may seem like a lot, but it's gonna really add some flavor to the congee, which is quite delicate. And we'll give it a little stir. And let it cook down a little bit more. After you do that, I would highly suggest tasting your congee, because it might need, and I know mine does, need a little bit more soy sauce and a little bit more salt. So I'm gonna add just a pinch of the salt. And another dash of the soy.
So Gabe, for those of us not really familiar with congee, what kind of texture should it be to know that it's done?
Yeah, so congee is quite interesting because it's all up to you. I like it kind of the consistency of a loose oatmeal, like it's a porridge. So I'll show you what mine has, right? Mine is like, kind of like the liquid and the rice have come together because the starches have been extracted, and it's like one homogenized mixture. It's not like boiled rice floating in water. If it is like boiled rice floating in water, I'd continue to cook it. And as we stir it and as we cook it down, those starches are gonna condense and they're gonna consolidate. And they will be, and they'll make for a really nice texture. But what you can do is if you're saving this for later, you'll notice that the starches are going to come together and they're going to be a bit hard. It's going to be a bit more congealed. And you can just add water or stock to loosen it up. So three things. One is taste the congee, taste the mushrooms, taste the congee. We're gonna taste the mushrooms after we add a little bit of sesame, a little bit of soy, and a squeeze of lemon, and that's how we're gonna finish them. So as soon as these mushrooms are nice and golden and they're ready to, like they smell good and the garlic and the ginger is not raw, we're gonna add about a tablespoon of soy. We're gonna add just a touch of our sesame oil, which is in the small jar. Probably a teaspoon or two. We're gonna stir it around. And what you'll notice is, if your pan is hot, you'll notice there's little bits on the pan. And that's really flavorful. And so instead of just leaving them, what we do is we take that other half of the lemon that we didn't use for the radishes, squeeze it in there, and scrape them up. And that's technically like deglazing the pan, but it also allows it to be a bit more flavorful. And now we can add our salt. Keep in mind we just added a little bit of soy, so you don't need a lot, but you're gonna add your salt towards the end and it's gonna prevent all the liquid from coming out. And voila, okay. So now really everything is ready. It's like we're here. And we have 9 minutes, which is exactly what I was timing. It's timing 10. But let's just kind of take stock of like what we did. We took seemingly simple ingredients of rice and stock, and we've created something completely unique. We've gone through a process of creation and alchemy, and it's something that we look to do with products. So when we source these regenerative products, the goal is not to just have one ingredient that's really great or 2 ingredients that's really great on their own. The question is, how can we as a company, how can these doctors that I work with and myself work to make 1 + 1 = 5? How can we honor the ingredients individually and put them together in a way that elevates and amplifies and creates something that we never really expected. And our products are an expression of that, and I think that this dish is a bit of an expression of that as well. We took really humble ingredients, rice and stock and some ginger and some garlic, and we've just transformed it into a nourishing, energy building, grounding, uplifting, vitality porridge. And we've taken more functional ingredients of mushrooms and we've layered those flavors, right? We've used a lot of the same flavors and ingredients in the porridge as we did with the mushrooms, but when you taste it, it's going to be completely different because of how we actually applied the process of it. So think about that too with the ways in which we extract these herbs, we extract these plants. It's not just about putting the same thing through the same process, everything through the same process. It's about understanding and identifying and finding the best ingredients and inputs, applying a process that optimizes them, that celebrates them, that uplifts them, and then putting it all together for something that nourishes us, that builds our health, that builds our vitality, that builds our community, that builds our planet, and hopefully tastes really good and feels really good in the end. So at this point, my congee is just about perfect. Okay, we're gonna plate this all together. Everyone, how are the mushrooms? Do they taste all right? Do they need some more salt? Do they need some pepper? Right? Engage your senses, taste as you go. There's not a prescription, right? Just like plant medicine, there's not a prescription. This is about you. If you're bigger and you're really sick, you need more. If you're smaller and it's a small symptom, you need less. Listen to your body, listen to your taste buds, and adjust. So I'm gonna do that actually. All right, so now I'll show you how I plate this. Because presentation, whether it's a dish or what I think is a very beautiful package, means a lot. I've got my ladle. I'm gonna ladle into the bowl. And I like layering the ingredients because we can see them. Taste this real quick. Pretty dope. All right. We're just gonna sort of use the porridge as a nest. All right. We're gonna take our radishes, which is gonna cut some of the salinity. It's gonna bring a little bit of spiciness. We're just sort of gonna place them around the top of our dish. It's also, they're really beautiful. So even if it doesn't taste great, it looks good.
The color combination is pretty good.
It's very cool, right? Now, I'm sorry that I didn't have us cut these before, but scallions are important to finish here. And what I'm gonna do is actually just cut on a bias, on an angle. So we have these kind of diamond-like shapes. Okay, we're gonna sprinkle a bit of those on. And now for the secret sauce, which is more of a powder. We're gonna take this little blend that I made up. It's a combination of gomasio and furikake. It's delicious, it's addictive, be careful. And just sprinkle that on top. I kind of like to put it in little pockets so that you don't cover the entire dish, like 3 or 4 little pockets of this stuff. Here. And then if you like sesame, which I do, just finish with a little bit more sesame oil on top. And there you have it. We have an immune boosting congee with some pickled radishes, astragalus, mushrooms, functional, delicious. And I really can't stress enough, this is an incredible thing to give someone who needs a little bit of nourishment. It's easy, it's an enjoyable thing to cook in my opinion, and it really makes people feel a lot better. So thank you so much for joining. I'm really, really grateful to be able to have this time with you all. And I'd love to know what you think about the dish. And I'm also gonna be able to kind of hang out and would love to hear and answer more questions from everyone. And one of the questions that I sort of have and that I've been sitting with a lot and was a large part of the inspiration for this dish was like, how is it that I am relating to and expressing, you know, my own vitality? And especially now, like, has your relationship to vitality and sort of proactive wellness or health or whatever you may, you know, call it, shifted? And if it has, wonderful, I'd love to hear. And if it hasn't, perhaps it will. So those who are tasting, how does it taste? Kind of unique.
So good. Yeah. Especially with the sesame oil, like to finish it on top. It's very good.
And were you able to taste the furikake? Did you taste the gomasio furikake mix? Did you sprinkle that one on?
Yeah, that as well. It's so yummy. I like use furikake on everything usually, but this one's really good. So
right. Well, yeah, this one is kind of like one that I added a few things to, so it's not like completely made up. Thank you for cooking.
Gabe, I think it's interesting that you are like, you know, you talk about this Chinese herbal medicine. In the US, we all grew up on the when you're sick, you have chicken noodle soup. And I look at what we used to eat when we were sick, and there's literally nothing healthy about any of that. Why would we get that as our feel better? Is it just that it's comfort food?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that a lot of it may come from like, sometimes we have a hard time holding things down. So, right, ginger and ginger ale can help us kind of hold things down. Chicken noodle soup or broth or kind of extraction of the nutrients in vegetables from vegetables and bones can also kind of settle our stomach, and it's simple. You know, saltine crackers are also very simple. I think it's, you know, but there's not that much in those refined carbohydrates. I think that what's interesting about something like congee is that you saw how much food this made, but we only used 3/4 of a cup of rice. So what we're doing is we're sort of extracting that starch, we're extracting that from the rice and extending it while simultaneously putting and infusing kind of the nutrients into it. And when I think about this, you know, you can use bone broth, you can use chicken stock, etc. You know, we're taking all that extracted like nutrients and we're putting it into the dish. And you know, the addition of these little things like astragalus or even incorporating these mushroom extracts and seaweed, right? It's a very well-rounded approach to nourishment without creating flavors that are polarizing or going to make someone not feel well. Does that answer the question at all? But I think it's a fascinating concept, and I've always really wanted to do a cookbook of sort of how people approach wellness from around, or what is the chicken noodle soup?
Yeah, it really is so interesting. And then in terms of the actual products themselves, so a lot of people look at this kind of stuff and would think preventative. And the way I feel like you're looking at this is more of an all year, all the time, almost like a vitamin, the way we look at vitamins kind of supplement. Would that be an accurate description of the new products?
I mean, I think that the way that we're approaching these new products is that there are certain foundational products that will help us build vitality and proactive kind of wellness, if you will. So, that's where the immune power or the lung guard is going to be good to take on a regular basis because, they have these medicinal and functional mushrooms because we have, Cass, you can give one to Ryan. I'm not going to eat it. I had one this morning. I was nervous to do this, so I already cooked it this morning. And so how can we, take it and eat it every day? Nourish ourselves every day. And then in the event that we feel more compromised in a certain way, whether it's our head or our lungs or just general kind of cold, wind, heat stuff, aches and pains, headache, cough, sore throat, dry mouth, then we have, the opportunity to hit it hard with that product. So on a foundational level, we have, the foundation is like immune building, then you start laddering up, like, is it compromised? Yes, I need it. Go hard on it. If it doesn't fix it, then we have another thing for the throat and the lungs and that, right? Does that make sense?
Would sinus support be the exception to the rule? Because that seems like a discomfort and pressure. That seems like a specific, like, I have this problem, I take this to fix it.
Yeah, so the intention of the sinus support formula is that, like, sinus problems and challenges are very pervasive. And oftentimes even like Western kind of antibiotics can't touch these things. And the formula here is really geared towards like acute or severe sinusitis. Like, how can you tackle this from the inside out with a comprehensive herbal formula? And it's quite rare because most of the solutions want to spray up your nose or something like that. And this is really saying, like, let's go inside out and let's, hit it hard with a lot of these ingredients that are antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial. Now, I say that with an asterisk, and we don't put it on the package because, quite frankly, like, you can't do that in the herbal supplements industry. But when you look at each one of these products in isolation, and the research that goes behind it, that is what the evidence shows. We just can't make particular claims about it. But yeah, the sinus it's not necessarily for like allergies, although it could be if you're getting a lot of pain and discomfort and irritation swelling from those allergies. But it's more for like that sinusitis, clearing things out. You have that upper head cold and stuff.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course, thanks for the questions. I always appreciate questions. Sarah, I'm really glad that you made it. And I'm really glad that you found your groove in the kitchen.
Thank you.
And Sydney, I'm so glad your mom is loving it. That is, kind of the ultimate, right? It's like mom's chicken soup, mom's congee, Gabe's congee. That's great. And you can always like toggle it. You can add, fresh ginger on top. You got chili oil. But it's very umami and savory. Emily, have you cooked it? Are you completed?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I created a massive mess, so I was trying to like tidy it
up.
Oh
no. So one other tip that I would say is that if you want, if you ever decide to cook it in the future, you could do it all in one pan. You would just have to cook the mushrooms first. And then after you cook the mushrooms, you add in the other stuff, and go from there. I wanted to do one pan, but for the sake of time, like, we had to split it. I actually, thought a lot about it. Cool. Well, I guess I just want to let like everyone know that, truly, like, I am and we are here to help, whether it's, inspiration for a recipe or a question about products, or herbs. Like, if we can, be of support, I'd be more than happy to. If we know the answer, we'll share it. If we don't, we'll go find it out. And, I really am so grateful for everyone to take the time to learn and to join. And hopefully someday we'll be able to do this in person, as Celia said. And this is a first for me. So thanks for bearing with me on the first cooking class on Zoom meets product introduction meets congee, like lots going on. And I appreciate it.
Only the taste winner guide us on this event.
We're back.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you all for joining. This is so fun.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening. Hope to see you guys in person soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.